What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football podcast here at Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, and we got the band back together. Got JT, got Steve, and the return of the Godfather himself, Gary Davenport. Gary, it's been a few weeks. Welcome back to the show, man.
Oh, glad to be here. Had to rock my Color Rush Cleveland Browns 95 jersey to commemorate the force of nature that is the 2025 Defensive Player of the Year. Might as well just end that race and put my man's name on his trophy, Myles Garrett.
Do you think he breaks the sack record this year?
He's got 18 and got 6 games to go. Never mind, he's got a 3-sack game, a 4-sack game,
a 6-sack
and
game.
a 5-sack game.
There's a 5-sack.
So
yeah.
I think he's got a shot. Let's put it that way.
Oh, Steve Hungarter, how are you doing, sir? How is your week going so far?
Good. What's going on, Jorge? I don't got anything. This is a boring, lazy week for me. I told you offline. I'm not allowed in the kitchen. I don't do anything. So my ritual for Thanksgiving, I watch all the Rocky movies because that's a rock. That's a Rocky. And then Christmas, I'll watch Die Hard. But Rocky is a Thanksgiving movie because if you watch Rocky 1, they're in the alley playing stickball and Paulie's throwing a fight with Adrian. He's like, but it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. So that's what I do. I watch all the Rocky movies again.
Do you skip 5 or is that included? Like that has to come with the territory?
Somewhere in my room, I have the box set and I threw 5 in the garbage and I put Rocky Balboa 6. So
nice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 5 never happened.
Well, you're not a big Tommy Morrison fan? Wasn't that his name?
Tommy Morrison in real life. Yeah, but like that movie, it just deserves to be retconned. Like, you know, he gets brain damage, he goes back.
Wasn't he like John Wayne's great nephew or some weird?
Good
was he really?
He was his grandkid, and his nickname was the Duke in the ring, and he beat George Foreman a year later after the movie and became heavyweight champion of the world. Gary's got a good memory.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. Did he also have a glass chin?
Yeah. Lewis, he was juiced up. He only made it like 2 rounds into like, I think it was Lennox Lewis took him down, whatever.
You know what? I'd still like to see him. I'd still like to see him in his prime fight Jake Paul. I just want to see someone fight Jake Paul.
Gary, his name was the Duke, his nickname, but the villain in part 5
was
the
Duke.
So they had to change it. So they made him Tommy Gunn. He has 2 kids now that are both heavyweights. They're on the minor circuit, but he has 2. There's 2 Tommy Gunn DNA out there. Yep.
Hey, yo, Tommy, I didn't hear no bell.
But yeah, I skipped that one. So just FYI, I know too much about it to skip it, but I know
if you hit me.
So JT, before we get to you, here's the thing that kind of I don't want to say it annoyed me. Like I'm happy it happened, but like I'm slightly annoyed because of continuity. Like Rocky Balboa, right? Awesome to see him go back in his later years and do that in the training montage and just everything that went along with that movie. That movie was great. I loved it. One of the greatest sports lines, like nothing hits harder than life, you know, that whole speech. But they completely glossed over the brain damage. And I'm just like, this was like the entire plot for the last movie that came out, the one that we don't like and we want to throw away. But like, I get it, like totally ignore the worst movie of the franchise, but at the same time, from continuity's sake, I'm like, so what? His brain just get better? Because I hear that doesn't work like that. So
what I wish
the NFL fixed it.
What I wish is I wish 6 the story would have came out when he was young and 5. That would have been like the perfect everything, you know.
All right, I got Mauricio in the chat. What's up, Mauricio? Good to see you again.
Mauricio.
Got a question from Malcolm we'll get to in a second, but Rocky Balboa, you know, that year a lot of good movies came out. Rocky Balboa, Casino Royale with Daniel Craig, and of course one of my favorites of all time, Beer Fest. And on that note, beer, cooking, food. JT, I called you earlier. You were like, I have like 1,000 turkeys I have to prep. How are you here, first of all, and how are you doing today?
Started earlier than usual, so that helped. Usually we don't get any started till middle afternoon, they'll go all night. But got to started early, so that helped. We do we build the whole smoker up, sell turkeys to people, smoke turkeys, 12 to 14 pounders. So usually do about 48 to 50 of them we can fit on the smoker. So got all those rubbed down today. got all the seasoning on them, got them all wrapped, sitting, and I'm going to head back into work here in about 2 hours and go and get the smoker going. They're sitting on there. They're ready to roll, and got to go back and fire it up here after a bit. And then get up early, pull them off, get all the sides made, and then we're closed on Thanksgiving, but we open just for 2 hours for people to come and pick up their food. So.
Spend all day rubbing his turkeys.
Yeah, pulling them off and stuff. That's yeah. I am like mid prepping dinner. I have my IDP Hunter apron ready to go, courtesy of Steve over there. And so yeah, it's well, you know what? Let's get into some notes and do a quick. Let's just get to it. And by get to it, I mean Malcolm's question on Facebook. You guys think Hunter from the Texans and Myles Garrett will have big games this Sunday? I think they'll have big games every Sunday. That would be accurate. I could see that happening. But Malcolm, thank you as always. You are like one of the very few Facebook people out there that interact with any person's shows anywhere. So we really appreciate you being here with us tonight. Like we were just saying and kind of slightly alluding to, happy Thanksgiving, happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Gary, are you staying home? You going over to friends and family? What's your plan?
Stay at home. Just me, the better half, and the kid. It's quiet. It's mellow. It's chill. I enjoy it thoroughly. Not that I don't like big family get-togethers, but Thanksgiving sometimes can be a little. You get that one cousin that's into their second bottle of wine by the time the Lions game kicks off.
That's me.
You got that other one that keeps wanting to come up to you and talk about, I don't know, the government or the Holocaust mistake or whatever.
Hey, JT cooking all them turkeys. He may have a nephew, IDP Hunter knocking on it, coming on.
There's a reason why you don't see those people most of the year, and then that one day you've got to say, hey,
yeah.
I'm glad to be skipping that part.
Yeah, I hear you. Steve, what about you? You got family coming over? Is it just you and your family, or what you got going on?
Just me and my family. Like I said, they cook. I watch the Rocky movies. When the kids were little, they had to watch them with me. Now they're starting to get older and have feeling. Like I try to grab them and hey, come on, watch this scene. My youngest one's name is Adrian. Yo, Adrian.
Oh, you have to use that all the time, right?
So it's really important for us to be together as a family and watch these movies. But to Gary's point, I don't have nephews, cousins come over because these people, you don't see them in 10 years. What do? They want your money, or they want to talk about the government, or they want you to hide a dead body in your trunk of your car. Something. I don't deal with anybody outside.
Hey, that only happened one time.
See,
one dead body.
The talking allegedly about the government is horrible. Hiding a dead body. I mean, you got to hide a dead body once in your life, every once in a while, right? I mean, come on. Just saying.
I think it's still in my garage. No, it's not. It's really not.
I mean, I guess it's well hidden if it's still there. JT, aside from helping feed a lot of people tomorrow, what do you got going on? You got people coming over or what?
Yeah, my sister, my mom, everybody having people over. Then we're having my girlfriend's family over. So we'll be doing stuff all day. Go hand out turkeys in the morning, do an afternoon, then do an early evening. So going all day. I will hopefully get a decent amount of football watched in the meantime.
The girlfriend's family. Dun, dun, dun.
It's basically just her. It's her brother and her sister, and they're both of their kids. So that's all it really is. So it's fine.
Yeah, I got my my in-laws, my mother, and my wife and son here, and then just gonna lay low. Food, football, naps, more food, football, and naps, and the occasional beverage here or there. But let's talk about somebody who could use a beverage, and that is all the managers for Trey Hendrickson the past few weeks, who again is out for the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow night versus the Baltimore Ravens. In terms of news and notes, Quay Walker, who missed last week, is limited in practice today, making his availability against Detroit, which I believe is the very first game on the slate.
It's an early game.
So we don't know what's going to go on with him. And as of right now, this is kind of wrap. This is going to be a very short news and notes segment because not a lot is coming out right now. But what did come out today is that the 49ers are signing Eric Kendricks. It makes you wonder, if you, Steve, let me bounce this off you here. If you picked up Tatum Bethune off waivers, shocking, like who didn't, right? Unless you're like, his mom who plays fantasy football also was like, I'm going to draft my son, and, he finally got the opportunity, which good for him and good for her, quite frankly. If you're the Tatum Bethune manager and you see this and you don't know when he's coming back from that high ankle sprain, is he droppable at this point?
Yeah, at this point in the year, he's dropped. There's several names that like the Terrell Bernards or this one, that one. They're all droppable because, like I said, we're going into the playoffs and we only have a certain amount of roster space. So yeah, I'm looking elsewhere.
Nice. Well, Gary, on that note, with Eric Kendricks coming into the fold here for San Francisco, does he present to you any startable value for IDP managers, or is it more like no?
Are they bringing him in just as veteran depth because they've got nothing now with Bethune hurt? Or are they unhappy with how, I guess it would be Robinson is playing because, D. Winters has been out there most of the season. So I would think if there was an issue there, they would have addressed it before now.
Right.
It's a hard question to answer, to be sure. I think if I'm a D. Winters manager, I'm still feeling okay. If I'm one of the guys who picked up Robinson after they picked up Bethune, which I am one of those guys,
right,
a little more concerned. Kendricks, it would depend on my roster size and what my linebackers look like, whether or not I was going to run out to grab him.
So I'll throw out a hypothetical scenario. We heard from Dave Canales today, or was it yesterday, that Trevin Wallace should be returning this week for the Carolina Panthers. If you're somebody who has had to start Trevin Wallace or Christian Roseboom or some combo thereof, are either of those people that you would drop for Eric Kendricks, or is Kendricks kind of like that player where it's like he's been around the league for a long time, he could be that veteran depth piece, but I'd rather take a shot on these younger players?
I'd stick with the Carolina guys, if only because I know they're going to get snaps for now, at least.
Right.
Now, 3 weeks from now, that could completely change if, like I said, at the Niners, and you got to look at it too. How many weeks is it going to take for Kendricks to get up to speed? We're headed into week 13 now. He just joined the team. So,
right.
But it's week 15 by the time he's ready to play full time, if that's what the 49ers want him to do.
One more piece of news that just came across my screen here. Alex Singleton, a couple weeks removed from getting a tumor removed from his body, apparently participated fully in practice today versus Denver and could be playing this week against the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. That would be that is
that man's RoboCop.
Yeah, that man's got balls.
I'll buy that for $1.
I'm sorry. It was just sitting there. Of course, I'm glad that they found it, that he's healthy and that he's recovering so quickly. But, who doesn't love a good testicle joke?
And thankfully, because of modern medicine, he still has his pair. So that's good. Good for him. Congratulations. Good for everyone. Wow. There's no segue from that. So we're just going to go straight into Money or Mirage. Nate Markham is the when we would roll with doing Shoot the Gap together, the king of segues, I would always call him, because he would always find a way to segue anything into the next segment. And I don't even think he could have gone from talking about testicular cancer jokes to all the way to Money and Mirage fantasy football takes. So, yes, that is miss you, Nate. Hope you're doing well. But we try. We do our best here. We try. Let's get into some Money Mirage questions for those of you who don't know. We ask you: is this a money statement or is this a Mirage? Meaning, is there validity to this that we're buying, or are we saying, yeah, this is fool's gold, too much to be true? So we got a couple of football player questions, and then we got some game theory questions as we are again creeping closer to the fantasy football playoffs. So let's get into the first Money Mirage. The Marvian Overshown. Big fan of his, converted safety to the linebacker from Texas, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys a couple seasons ago. last year, a pretty horrific knee injury, like what was it, a torn ACL, MCL, PCL, all in one game, like just horrible. You didn't even know if he was going to play this year. I had him in a bunch of dynasty leagues, and I kept him. I threw him on my IR spot because fortunately I had the depth pieces. And there are some players like in fantasy football, especially in dynasty leagues, where you're just like, I just like the player. I'm a fan in fantasy football, and I just want to hold out. If they're able to come back and be successful, I want to be the guy that says, I never lost faith, I never gave up hope. And then he came back last week and he played 58.7% of snaps as the LB2 for the Dallas Cowboys. So needless to say, as a fan, IDP managers, we're great. We're happy he's back, right? So Money and Mirage, he should be considered a reliable LB option for fantasy managers going forward. Gary, is that a money statement or a Mirage statement?
Oh, that's a tough one because I'm kind of on the fence. It depends on what you mean by reliable and how quickly you want him to be there. I do expect his snaps to scale up. He's the best linebacker on the team.
Would you start him? Would you start him weekly?
No, I don't think you can start him right now. I wouldn't be starting him tomorrow against Kansas City. But week 14, I wouldn't be at all surprised if tomorrow you see his snap share be higher than it was in week 12. And if that happens, I'll give you money. We'll roll him out week 14. Overshown plays like his hair is on fire. So if he's healthy, he's going to get snaps.
What about you, Steve? What are your thoughts here?
Same as Gary. They're ramping him up, but slowly. You had 58.7 last week, like you said, 52 the week before. They are trying to get him implemented. Logan Wilson's learned the playbook as well, but they're trying to get Overshown to be the guy. It's not going to be this week. Probably won't be next week, but they have a purpose for him. Unlike, what'd you say, Curtis Robinson and Eric Kendricks last week? Those guys could be basking turkeys with JT this weekend. We don't know, but this player here definitely has a purpose moving forward. It's just not going to be treated right now.
All right. Let's get to our next Money or Mirage. The past 2 weeks, Dane Belton, who's filled in for an injured Tyler Nubin for the New York Giants, has been the primary box safety, playing next to Javon Holland for New York. In weeks 11 and 12, he was the safety 12 overall in box snaps, and using Fantasy Pros IDP scoring, he was the DB 31, averaging 11.4 fantasy points per game. And among all safeties, he was the overall safety 22 in that time span, weeks 11 and 12. Money and Mirage. Dane Belton, and this is assuming, for the foreseeable future while Tyler Nubin is out. Dane Belton is the safest IDP player for the New York Giants outside of Brian Burns, and should be rostered and started in leagues with the roster spots where you have at least 3 DV spots. JT, let's start with you. I know that's a lot to throw at you, but do you consider him the safest option on the Giants next to Brian Burns? And then 2, should he be rostered and started, given the fact that you may or may not agree that he is the safest player there for the Giants, given his box snap percentages lately?
I've got a ton of Tyler Nubin, so I really want Tyler Nubin back, as I don't have much roster spots for him. I would love to see him back, but he's been playing well. I'm still, outside of Burns, I know he's not been blowing people away, but he's been solid. And that's Bobby Okereke has been good. So I still think he's a little safer play here, but not, that great. It just depends on safety. The numbers have been good. I'm not blown away with him so far as a player, other than the numbers have been solid. I'm not probably sprinting out to get him unless I'm in a league where I'm like just devastated at linebacker or at DB right now. Then if I really don't have any spots, then it's go pick up. But I'm getting in this spot where I have so many guys hurt that it's like I have very little room left on my roster to pick people up. So it's making it hard for me in some of these IDP leagues to go and get guys, even if they're performing well at this point in the season.
So Gary, let me throw a follow-up on this real quick. One of the things that a lot of people in the fantasy space agree on, and I'm coming around to it, especially after the whole Kings Classic this year. Although I've been rattling off like 3 wins in a row. Okay, I will not be last in this league. By God, thank you, defensive.
What, you don't want Skunky?
No, thank you. I'm good without it. I'm really I am, seriously. But going back to the defensive backs and really talking about defensive back theory, it's a volatile position, obviously, unless you're like playing the box snaps and you're going for the box safeties and you're kind of like incorporating some more tackle upside, or if you're going for the slot cornerbacks where they're playing closer to the line of scrimmage and they're getting more targets. But for the most part, it's a volatile position. Would you want somebody like a Dane Belton, maybe not him in particular, but somebody who's basically pretty steady, or do you swing for the upside this time of year, especially if you're trying to make the playoffs?
Well, if you're trying to make the playoffs, you have to swing upside, and then it does matter. I mean, if you feel like, okay, I'm sitting at 9-3 and I've probably got it, then you can look a little bit farther out. You can plan for week 15, but if you're 6-6 and you need wins the next 2 weeks to even make the playoffs, then no, there are guys who probably have more upside available than Belton. I mean, I might look to a guy like Jalen Reed, the rookie in Houston, who had a big game last week. Looks like he will start again this week. Colts are a favorable matchup for defensive backs. Okereke has, like JT said, he's been fine. And Burns has been great. He's leading the NFC in sacks, although he's way behind 95. But other than that, the Giants defense doesn't do anything for me right now.
All right. Let's get into another Money Mirage scenario. Tyrod Taylor, quarterback of the New York Jets over the past 3 weeks, has had the 5th highest pressure to sack conversion rate amongst all quarterbacks in the NFL. The tandem of James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker for the Atlanta Falcons, both rookies, which, by the way, on draft night, round 1, when they traded the pick to the Rams to get James Pierce, a lot of people out there saying, that was so stupid. I love James Pierce going into the draft, so maybe I was blinded by fandom, but it's being backed up now by performance. Both Pierce and Walker, since week 10, are tied for 8th in sack conversion percentage per PFF, combining for 6 sacks in that time period. Also in that time period, using Fantasy Pros IDP scoring and points per game, Pierce is the DL12 and Walker is the DL11 again since week 10. So all this sounds wonderful. We saw them go off last week against the Saints. This is wonderful. They're great. They're wonderful. Everybody likes them. That is a Ladybugs reference for those who may or may not have caught that or even know what the movie Ladybugs is, but that's neither here nor there. Anywho, though, this duo has upcoming matchups versus the Seahawks, Bucks, and Cardinals, who ranked 29th, 18th, and 16th in pressure to sack conversion percentage, which means they're not exactly the easiest of matchups. These quarterbacks don't exactly succumb to a lot of pressure and go down and take those sacks. Therefore, Money Mirage. While impressive in recent weeks, James Pierce and Jalen Walker's run as one of the young dominant pass rushers for IDP will come to a screeching halt during the fantasy playoffs when they do take on the Seahawks, Bucks, and Cardinals. Steve, does it end? Is the magic over after a certain number of weeks, or do you still give faith to these guys?
Yeah, good luck guessing a sack. But to answer your question, Pierce he got 49% snap count, 59% snap count, 58% snap count. He's a little more wonky than Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker's getting a little bit of a better snap count. Those matchups, they're not the old Seahawks, Buccaneers, Cardinals. They ranked, 29th, 18th, and 16th, the pressure to sack rate. So It's about average. So just expect a little growing pains if you're going to start those guys. It's not a brutal matchup, but it's rough for a pressure to sack ratio. So you're going to have growing pains as expected with rookies. So just be mindful if you're playing them. Nothing wrong with having them. They're great stories, but just be mindful if you are playing them. Don't expect DL1 production for all 3 games.
All right. Gary, going to throw this one back to you here. Another Money Mirage statement here. As the IDP fantasy playoffs approach, managers during the playoffs should examine recent trends of player performance over season-long trends to best assess value for who they should start on their teams during that time period. Is that a Money or Mirage statement?
Money. You don't necessarily want to go back the entire season. Although you kind of have to take both into consideration. But I do tend to lend a little more credence now to the last month, 6 weeks, because that's what you want. You want to ride as many possible hot hands as you can, because there are guys who started off the season terribly. who are cooking now. I mean, we've even had like a legitimate Zaire Franklin sighting, which I thought he was dead. Even he's climbed out of the grave at least for a couple weeks. So no, I would, if I've got to take one over the other, give me the hot guy. Then, a guy who came roaring out of the gates and was, DL1 after a month, who's like DL15 now, because for the last 6-7 weeks he's been, you can't. Mav right now will get you it'll get you dead. You'll get knocked out of the playoffs.
Steve, let me ask you a question here. And Gary brought up a good point here, riding the hot hand. At what point for IDP managers, whether it's a DL, LB, or DB, or maybe this is more of a general fantasy question in general, when does riding the hot hand versus taking the known veteran, when does that debate swing towards more riding the hot hand than the veteran?
So good question. And, your mileage may vary, but I usually, what I do, you can't just set it and forget it like offense, like, oh, Chris Godwin. Oh, you can't, because you'll get train wrecked the following week or the week after IDP. IDP is a grind every single year. So you got to look at snaps. You got to look at team schemes every week. That's why these articles we write are so important to kind of pull everybody back in. Usually what I do is I look at trends. I'm going to say the universal answer should be 2-3 games at least. If you see a trend on that person, like we see with Overshown after week 2-3, then we can start calling our shots. But you don't want to do it after 1 week because you're going to sound like a lunatic, right? And you sure as heck don't want to do it after, I don't know, a 1-sack performance. The guy had 10% snaps. You got to see the usage go up week to week. So I'm going to say universally, because that's a tricky question, 3 games. Give me 3 games. Give me a good measuring stick. That way I have something comparable to come back and tell the audience with.
All right. And,
once is a fluke. Once is a fluke. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times is a trend.
There you go.
There we go. JT, I'm going to throw this one to you. This will be a last minute Mirage thing here. And I use air quotes. Start your studs is an expression that is most successful with linebackers in IDP compared to the running backs and wide receivers on offense. Like it's easier. It's more applicable to linebackers than your offensive counterparts. What are your thoughts there on starting your studs? Like I guess let me expand on that a little bit more. Like defensive linemen, defensive backs, we know there's variation, right? So like what is really a stud defensive lineman outside of the Garretts and the Crosbys, right? Defensive backs, that again, even more volatile. So therefore you get, tackle volume, that's a little bit more consistent. So therefore is the starting your studs for linebackers like the safest play for IDP managers?
I think for the most part, I think like Gary said, I mean, if a guy got off to a hot start and has just been doing nothing the last couple of weeks, you might have to make an adjustment. But you don't want to necessarily get like super cute here at the end of the year and like completely play like, okay, this guy's played okay, but look at these matchups, and you start playing like trying to play cute matchups where it's like, oh, this is a pretty good matchup for a very average linebacker over a guy who's a better player, who's got a tougher matchup as far as what the points they've been giving up against. So that's where I again, you want to look at it. If the guy has been slow off, got out hot, but has been slow, then maybe you look at making that move. But don't get too cute again with just because they're playing a really good matchup, especially at linebacker. They're playing a really good matchup, so you play a guy over one of your studs that has basically carried you most of the season. So that's what I would say. Don't get too cute with it. But just because the guy was a stud or you drafted him really high, you've got a lot invested in him. If he's not been good the last couple of weeks, don't force yourself to play that player just because you have high draft capital or, you've been playing him every week. If he's not hitting for you, then you got to get him out. But don't get too cute.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for more Money Mirage. Let's get into some plays and fades, folks. All right, so for those who are new, welcome. And for those who have been with us all season long, as you know, in plays and fades, when we look at defensive linemen, linebackers, and defensive backs for our plays, we like to look at Fantasy Pros ECR ratings So, of course, for defensive linemen, we're talking about players outside the top 12. For linebackers, outside the top 36. And then for defensive backs, outside the top 12. So, Steve, let's throw it to you first. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. Who is your play at defensive lineman this week?
So mine doesn't sound sexy at all. I'm going to give you Jonathan Cooper, DL39 versus Washington.
Oh, baby.
But
what are you talking about? That sounds amazing. Keep going.
I'm going to give you a hot take to paint this picture. I'm going to tell you and your audience, Rocky 2 is a superior film to Rocky 1. How's that for a hot take?
I love it. I think 3 is the
Rocky 4 is better.
Rocky 4 is nothing but montages, and you got 20 minutes of a
It's
fight.
awesome. It's like 45 minutes long, and he beats up a giant Russian guy. It's fantastic.
Let's do a whole podcast
America,
on that.
Steve. America.
Yeah.
Rocky.
We got a United American.
I already derailed the podcast.
Yep, you did. Good job.
Rocky 2.
Rocky won the Cold War.
When you're watching the series, some people like Rocky 1, some people like Rocky 4. Jorge loves that Rocky 5. Don't get me started. Rocky 3. No one talks about Rocky 2. I'm telling you, Rocky 2 is the superior film. Watch it with Rocky 1. I know it won an Academy Award. It hits harder. The montages are faster. The pacing's better. He actually wins the damn thing. He brings it home. That's Jonathan Cooper for me. He's got the Nick Benito, who's the Rocky 4 in the crowd. He's got the Jonathan Cooper, who's the Rocky 1. Nobody cares about Jonathan Cooper on this defensive line. Nobody cares. He's got a matchup against Washington. Washington is the Apollo Creed of the NFL. He has so many names: the Redskins, the Commanders, the football team, the Master Disaster. I don't even know what their team is anymore. When you look at this matchup on paper, it is not sexy. It is boring. Right now, they're middle of the pack where they give up 27 sacks allowed. They're middle of the pack, but when you look at them, they can be exposed. They give up pressure to sack ratio. They just don't play a lot of snaps. Jorge, they don't. They play like 4-1, four pressures to 1 sack, so they can be had. Just like Rocky with Apollo Creed, this is the Apollo Creed matchup that everybody's been waiting for, okay? Talented in theory, but they get tagged enough and often. So that's why I see Jonathan Cooper going off. Now, people are going to probably push back on this because Cooper's been kind of stuck in this rotation thing, but the team plays him on obvious passing downs. And that's my point to my story here. That's what Rocky 2 is all about. Give him a chance. Give him a 15-round bout. One lucky hit, Jonathan Cooper gets himself a sack, what have you. Rocky wins a championship. They're both comparable. So how's that for a metaphor, guys?
I love it. The best part about Rocky 2 was when Adrian says, I need you to do something for me. Win. Like, if that doesn't jack you up right there, like, you are like, all right, let's go. But I love
we don't talk enough about excellent mullets. Swayze, Captain Planet, John Stamos, and Rocky 2. Excellent mullets, guys.
That green hair. Oh, my God. Love the Jonathan. That is great. I love every reference. Oh, my God. Jonathan Cooper, love it. Gary, who is a play for you at defensive lineman this week?
I don't know where he's ranked, but I know it ain't anywhere near the top 10 or top 20 or probably top 30. Dennis Gardeck, Jacksonville.
Okay,
Jaguars.
yeah.
I like that.
Got himself half a dozen tackles and a sack and a half last week with Trayvon Walker out. So far as I know, Walker has not practiced this week, so it looks like Gardeck's going to get another shot. He's a guy who's shown, to an extent, he can get it done before in the past. He's been kicking around the NFL for a good long while. Had a couple 7-8 sack seasons with the Arizona Cardinals. And he is facing a Tennessee Titans team that does nothing but give up sacks. 45 of them this year. I think Gardeck and Josh Hines-Allen, who is ranked highly at Fantasy Pros this week, both get home this week.
Very nice. Very nice. JT, who is a play for you at defensive line?
So I know you talked about it earlier about the 2 rookies, Jalen Walker and James Pierce. I think Pierce is a big-time play this week against the Jets. DL58 going this week, but he's been on a 3-week tear. He's got 4 sacks, 12 pressures, 33% conversion rate on his pressures the last 3 weeks. He's starting to tear it up. These rookies, sometimes just got to give them a little time to get it together. He has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks against Indy, Carolina, and New Orleans. You already talked about it. The Jets have not been great at stopping the pass rushers at all. Tyrod Taylor has not been good as far as letting guys get home to him. So I think Pierce, this is another week, are you going to get huge production down the stretch like you talked about earlier in Money Mirage? I'm not 100% sure. But if I'm sticking with those guys, I'm sticking with – I like both players, but I like Pierce just a little bit more than Walker. The metrics have been there for them. He 18.5% pressure rate last week, 14.8% win rate. The snaps are still sitting around 50%, so that's the one scary part. But he's been getting home even without getting a ton of overall reps. So I like him. I think he's worth getting in the lineup this week against the Jets.
All right. Let's go to linebackers now, and then we'll switch it up. Gary, why don't you start us off with the linebacker play for us this week?
Well, the 49ers might have messed this up on me since they signed Eric Kendricks. I'm going to go Curtis Robinson in San Francisco. I know he had a down week last week, but the snaps were there. And the Cleveland Browns have been a gold mine for linebackers for I don't even know how many years. It's just a function of the offense. Now that Shedeur Sanders is out there, the Browns might actually be able to sustain an offensive drive or two. So D. Winters, Curtis Robinson, I like both San Francisco linebackers this week in what I honestly think is going to be a fairly close game in Cleveland. The 49ers will probably pull it out, but Cleveland's defense will keep them in it, and you're going to see a whole lot of Christian McCaffrey and Quinshon Judkins.
A lot of pulling it out and keeping it in. Got it. Awesome.
Yeah, and rubbing turkeys.
And rubbing turkeys. Yeah.
Gobble, gobble.
God. Gary, we've missed you. Steve, who's the linebacker play for you this week?
For real, we've missed you, Gary. Like, if it's not hookers, a pull-out game, you know.
I'm still upset about my stolen hooker. And the fact that Steve gave me herpes.
Fantasy football herpes. That's what we're talking about, folks.
I don't know how to top that one. So yeah, my play this week, Cody Simon, Fantasy Pros LB 32. That just seems incredibly low for a guy who was at 53 box snaps last week, 61 box snaps the week before. He had 12 tackles week 11, 7 tackles week 12, and they got him as 32. His usage tells you he's a 3-down player. He's got a matchup against Tampa Bay. They're top 12 in most categories for linebacker points. Total tackles allowed, total tackles points to the LB points, tackle efficiency. Yeah, so they're within the top 12. So that's easily a tier 1 in somebody's league, and they got them listed at 32. So I think that's incredibly off.
Just keep picking Buckeyes, Steve. Smart man.
So outside of Steve, although to be fair, I don't know where you originally grew up here, so I could be including you into this conversation without actually knowing it. But what is it with a lot of people who are like in the IDP field being from Cleveland or being from like Ohio and like being Browns and Buckeyes?
Ohio is the heart of it all, man.
Apparently.
I think it's that cold weather, fullbacks and linebackers come from our little neck of the woods. What do you think?
Well, in Ohio is, high school football, obviously, Ohio State, the pros. It's just football is a way of life.
In the water or the snow.
No, there's lots of stuff in the water and ain't none of it good.
JT, who is a play for linebacker for you this week?
So I'm going with Jermaine Pratt from the Colts. Monster game last week. Number 1 overall in Fantasy Pro scoring for linebackers. 20 tackles, 15 solos. Also got a pass defense in there. 32.8 points. Just a monster game for him. And he's been pretty consistent since coming over to the Colts. So he's going against Houston this week. Big game for the Colts at home. A win this week can really, start vaulting them ahead of everyone in the South, in the AFC South. So I think he's going to be a good play, even though, Houston hasn't been fantastic for linebackers, but he's been good. So I like Pratt. It just seems like he's getting more and more comfortable with his defense. He understands what they want to run. He's been slowly but surely getting better and better every week. So at this point, after last week's performance, if you're not playing him, I don't know what else to do for you. You got to play Jermaine Pratt at this point. I think he's a must start.
Well, that's Lou Anarumo's boy. He probably knows that scheme as well as
Absolutely.
A lot of the players who have been there all season long. He's been playing. I don't know how many years him and Lou were together in Cincinnati. 4 or 5?
1 million.
It's starting
years.
to. You're starting to notice too that he definitely is understanding this defense really well, and he seems super comfortable. And like I said, he's been good since he got to Indy.
Remember
but
when we
it's like
thought
he's just getting better and better.
Remember when we thought Jalen Carleys was going to be a thing?
Preseason darling.
I would have loved it.
Charlie.
I love him. I have him on a million teams, but he got hurt and he's missed the whole season with injury. I still think he could have been really good in that role, but after losing out and being injured all this year, his window to kind of steal that might be gone.
Coming soon to a UFL team near you.
Hey, don't knock the UFL. Go Defenders.
Hey, they're coming to Columbus. The Columbus Aviators.
Stop. Really? Is it the Aviators? That's fun.
Yes.
How about that? Let's get to defensive back plays. Steve, start us off again. Who you got as a defensive back play?
You ready for this?
I'm looking at the show sheet and I'm ready for this. Bring it.
Let's go DB83 on Fantasy Pros.
Love it.
Lathan Ransom. Okay, so what happened was for those Ohio State product. So let's talk about this. What happened last week, Monday Night Football? Trayvon Mooring decided to punch a man in the nuts. But honestly, the real victims here is us IDP managers, because with that move, he basically punched us all in the nuts. So thanks a lot, Trayvon. Now we're 1 game suspended. So who the hell can you play in that secondary? One thing me and JT do in the offseason, in fact, I'm starting the next 2 weeks. We scout these rookies hard. I'll be at the Senior Bowl doing I did a 200 draft profile over at the Fantasy Six Pack and all the scouting. I had Ransom in my top 10 defensive backs. He profiles, not a lot's known on him right now, but he profiles as a zone defender and a box snap safety. So 2 things the Panthers are going to do for him. Guess what? They're number 1 in the league with zone defense. They're 32nd in man, but they're number 1 with zone. So they will do that. And we all know they love to put their safeties in the box. At one point, what was Mooring before he got suspended? He was a top 5, top 4 defensive back with box snaps. At one point, he was number 1 or 2, if you remember earlier this year. So Ransom's going to get a shot. Maybe it's just a little bit of a snapshot, but for this week, that DB83, he's going to shatter it. And he's not going to kick nobody in the nuts, hopefully, God willing.
No. Now, some of his former teammates might on Saturday, because that game might get a little heated. But he's a good, clean boy.
I'm running out of Ohio State players, Gary. That's what I'm doing.
There's plenty more of them kicking around the NFL, man.
This is true. Well, who are you kicking around here for a defensive back play here, Gary?
I'm going to go with another rookie, Kevin Winston Jr. of the Tennessee Titans. Had a good game last week. Good matchup this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Not a lot in front of him. That Titans defense, there's nothing in Tennessee that's good. There's just nothing.
DB83
Cedric Gray is good. Everything else on Tennessee, and Jeffrey Simmons, everything else on Tennessee's defense makes you want to cry. But Kevin Winston is not going to make you want to cry. He's going to make you happy. Unlike Cody Barton, who is going to make me mad again.
So you're seeing a trend over here, Jorge. DB83, DB82, DB83. You can punt these.
Hey, if you go swing for the fence. I ain't trying to hit no single.
And Winston in college did not miss a single tackle. I just find that amazing. How do you get through all the games you ever did and never missed a single tackle? So that's another player I like. Good pull. 10 tackles last week. Good pull, Gary.
JT, please stop this Ohio State chicanery that's going on, and please give us somebody that you're starting at DB this week.
He's been playing well, but I don't think people in IDP circles have totally bought in he's a absolute starter every week, and that's Cole Bishop. He's been on fire lately. Really good the last 4 or 5 weeks. Top 10 guy in Fantasy Pro, scoring 3 weeks in a row leading into last week. Still had 6 tackles last week. Now goes against Pittsburgh, a team who has not been pushing the ball down the field at all. He is leading the team in deep safety percentage, but he doesn't play deep safety a lot, which is why I'm still good on it. 34% last week, but he still had 47% in the box, another 15% in the slot, 3% defensive line. He's going to be up there. They've also blitzed him at a small rate, but they've brought him a couple times. I really like what Cole Bishop's doing. So even though if you look at the stats, he's played more deep snaps, safety snaps, I don't think you're going to see a lot of deep safety snaps from this week. Steelers do everything underneath. Everything's screens. Everything's quick passes. If they do throw deep lately, it's been completely out of bounds, not even close. We still don't know what's going to go on with Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers does play, you got to assume he's going to try to get the ball out quick. He doesn't want to take a lot of hits on that broken wrist. Mason Rudolph was rough last week, as expected. So I think Bishop's going to play a ton towards the line this week. He's been really good. And so if you've been hesitant on whether like he's a guy you should be putting in your lineup every week, to me, he's made it to that level where he's a DB worth starting every week.
You know, as we get into our fades, with the amount of Buckeyes that were just listed in our plays, from all of you, there better be a hell of a lot of Michigan players coming up here in these fades. And I see JT.
I ain't even speaking that word this week.
Well, JT is speaking the word of a former Michigan Wolverine for his fade. So, JT, let's jump right back to you. Rashawn Gary, tell us about him.
He sucks.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary, he had, when they got Parsons came over, it's like he got just a little spark. He's been highly overrated for how he's produced the last couple of years. He's a guy you just keep waiting on. He got a little spark to start off the year, and he has really plummeted the last 4 weeks. He's a guy, what we talked about, like you said earlier, Jorge, do you play a guy who, maybe got a decent amount of cap in, or do you look at a guy and what he's done lately? The last 4 weeks, Rashawn Gary has been terrible. I mean, he's doing absolutely nothing for you. After a nice little push right when Parsons came over, I think that push is over. So he had a nice start to the year, couple sacks in the first couple games, another little push once Parsons got traded. But since then, he has not been good. I'm out on Rashawn Gary this week. Unless I see something drastically change, he's just a guy that is going to probably be out of my starting lineup most of the way, the rest of the way, unless something improves with him.
Right,
His diploma from They Who Shall Not Be Named is in crayon.
It is not. Are you just saying that, or that's a joke?
No,
what am I doing?
I'm actually no, Jorge. I'm actually serious. All diplomas from They Who Shall Not Be Named are in crayon. The library caught fire, and the damn shame of it was that 3 of the books hadn't been colored in yet.
Wow. This reminds me of that ESPN commercial where what you call it, the couple is on a blind date and they're asking each other questions like, what do you do, blah 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 blah, and then the guy asks the lady like, so where'd you go to school, and she's like, born in Michigan, go blue, and he like, the guy then
stops
just
the car and kicks her out.
No, he rolls out of the moving car, rolls down the hill, and is like, go Buckeyes,
go Bucks.
Steve, who is your fade for defensive lineman this week?
Yeah, so there's few things I'll never understand. Bigfoot hunters, that's one of them. You would think these hunting cams out in the woods, you think that would debunk the whole Bigfoot theory, but no. Crystal healers are another one. Flat earthers, don't get me started on that. Time travelers on TikTok. There's a whole parade that thinks the moon landing's not real. There's a whole lot of things I'll never understand. And another thing I'll never understand, Greg Rousseau fans, they keep putting him in tier 1 category with all the top 7, 8 defensive linemen. Remember in the offseason, he was like DL8, DL9. Hell, during the weeks, he was DL12, DL15. Right now, Fantasy Pros has him DL18, and I still think that's too high. What do we know about Rousseau? He's a boom or bust defender. He's inconsistent up and down. Even when he does have a good matchup, he tends to blow it. He's playing the Steelers this week, which are an average passing line, but they've improved the last couple of weeks, as JT's called it well. Okay, let's say there's a positive game script and they run the ball, which you can do against the Bills, and plus they're a linebacker less right now. Given the game script and the matchup plays out and they can run the ball a little bit, I don't see Rousseau being very effective, especially as a DL18, so you can probably fade that and punt that.
If Pittsburgh beats Buffalo on Sunday, Western New York, there's going to be panic attacks galore. People are going to be freaking out.
Well, let's tell people who they should not be panicking over because they're going to be fading these linebackers. JT, who you got?
Well, I didn't get fade a defensive.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just you haven't been here in a while.
Jump in.
Go ahead.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I even want to tell you now.
Well, now I have to know.
Andrew Van Ginkel, much like the team,
Ah.
much like the Minnesota Vikings as a team, Van Ginkel has not been able to duplicate the success he had last year, although he's shown flashes. Sam Darnold's been sacked 11 times in 11 games this year. It's just 11 times in 11 games. I mean, we're far enough into the season when you look at how many sacks a team has given up and it says 11, that makes them a bad pass rush matchup.
Love the call, but you know what I love even more, and I'm saying this very sarcastically, just in case I wasn't getting my point across. I love it when I can go through a show sheet and see people's names and nothing next to the names, and then skip over a person's name, and then they're like, "Well, I didn't say my part yet." I'm like,
"Oh, do you want me to prepare?
Well, you didn't
Have
put
we
anything
met?"
All right, let's get to. I know. Let's get to linebackers, fades, and defensive backs, and we'll get the sack lunch, and then we shall get going because we got fourth and frames up next. Linebackers, JT, real quick, who is your fade at linebacker this week?
I know Gary talked about the Niners linebackers earlier. Even though the matchup is good, I am really having a hard time playing D winners this week. I know the matchup's there, but man, one tackle on 100% snap share last week, just brutal. At least the week before was 5-5. You got your 10 tackles, 5 solos. Felt pretty good about it. I'm probably playing him if I don't have better options, but I do have some leagues where I'm looking at guys and we talked about already, Cody Simon, Servashi Dennis, like some of those guys, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I might actually play them over D winners this week. Cody Simon, I played over D winners last week. It's huge. The projection said don't do it, but I just felt like Simon was a better play, and winners has been a little rough. So I definitely was better there. Like Gary said earlier, matchup solid. Winners has just been rough. He's just been a rough start. You're just biting your lip the whole time, hoping he shows up. But it is a good matchup for them. So if you have to start him because you don't have better options, I still could see getting winners in there. But if I've got a better guy a guy I like, I'm putting someone else in for him this week.
All right, Steve, who's your linebacker fade?
So linebacker, right? There's a couple things I want to share with your audience before I do this, okay? Right. Teams that lean heavily on 11 personnel this season. They're the same teams. There's 5 of them. They're the same teams that are top 10 bottom against the run. So the Titans, Bengals, Vikings, Saints, Texans. Every single one of them, you could always play the nickel slot against them. And you might want to be mindful and pull back the linebacker. So let me say it again. Titans, Bengals, Vikings, Saints, Texans. 11 personnel teams. They're better. They run the ball less 43% of the time. Okay, so the one I'm going to target this week, Foyce Olakun, LB7 Fantasy Pros. He's playing the Titans. I think that's an extreme fade, or at least you got to bump him down a little bit. Because, again, he had a 10-tackle game versus the Cardinals, but if you go back the last 3 weeks, he's been like LB21, LB22-esque. But if you look at the Titans, they're near the bottom in tackles allowed, so it's just not a great matchup. So, I would fade him.
All right. And then, Gary, who is your linebacker fade for the week?
Steve knows stuff. Lucan was the guy I had wrote down. So instead I'll go with another guy.
He stole your Lucan.
I'll go with another guy. No, that time he stole my Lucan. I don't know what that is. So
I don't know what that is either. I just made it up.
Right. But, I don't know. Bobby Wagner. Honestly, I just don't like the matchup. And Denver is, I think, 29th in fantasy points per game allowed a linebacker. Their offense. I mean, Denver keeps winning these games, but they've got no offensive consistency. I don't trust their run game at all since J.K. Dobbins got hurt. So, I mean, sitting Wagner is going to be damn near impossible for you unless you're loaded at linebacker. But don't be surprised if you're looking at like 3 solos and 3 assists and wondering what the hell happened. And this is the time of year where, depending on your circumstances, a dud can kill you.
All right. Let's get the defensive back. Steve, let's start with you. Who's your defensive back fade for the week?
Defensive backs. So Antoine Winfield, what is he? DB8, I think, Fantasy Pros. The Panthers matchup isn't really that good. I mean, they're bottom 3 in pass attempts, bottom 5 in plays per game. They rarely sustain drives. So that's bad news for a player who thrives on the big play splash opportunities. So I think fewer opportunities will be there for him.
Gary, who's your favorite defensive back?
Oh, this pains me. Nick Cross, Indianapolis Colts, the only team giving up fewer fantasy points per game to safeties than the Houston Texans, is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. And then JT, who's your favorite defensive back?
For me this week, it's Kobe Bryant from Seahawks. 100% snap share. He's the only guy getting 100% in the secondary, but he's playing 88% deep safety, playing deep. They're moving in all kinds of other guys, getting and Ware mixed in there. You still have Devin Witherspoon, who's still playing wide, but getting some of that slot snaps as well. For me this week for Seattle, I think they think they're going to be up in this game for a majority of the time. I think they're going to play Kobe Bryant deep most of this game, try to prevent any kind of deep plays over the top. The Vikings have not been good. We've known that as anybody who's been on Twitter talking about the quarterback play in Minnesota. So I just think Kobe Bryant plays a lot of deep. He just makes sure that they don't give up anything over the top. I don't see that producing a lot of good fantasy production this week, even though, he had a super nice run middle of the year where he was a top 10 guy every week. He has not been that the last 4 weeks of the season. He's been averaging somewhere between player number 40 and player number 75 for Fantasy Pro scoring. So I'm fading Kobe Bryant just with the snaps and everything being deep. I think if the Vikings win this game, they're going to have to pound the rock. They're going to have to run the ball, control the ball, and that means no tackles for Kobe Bryant.
You got a mean jump shot, though.
I was going to say Kobe, but then you took that away from me because you made him a fade. So never mind. All right, let's get to our last segment, Sack Lunch here, folks. All right. The rules are you pick one defensive player. You can only pick that player once the entire season, and you tell us this player is going to get you a sack. And if that works, you get some points. If it doesn't work, you don't get any points. The tally is still in Steve's favor, but I believe Gary may be pulling closer here. I need to get the final calculations, which we'll reveal in the year in review show after week 17.
He's going to cheat. Jorge's going to cheat, so we don't. He don't get
no,
one of us three is getting a pie because Jorge's going to be like, as it happens.
I have to look.
Week 18.
I rolled a nut 3 weeks in a row, and DB is impossible. That's so hard to get. So I'm off the DB wagon. But yes, somebody's going to pass me soon. I'm drowning in the water.
I am not afraid. I have had. You can ask Nate Markham. I took Jeremy Chen 1 year back in 2019. He took somebody else. Didn't work out. I have taken my fair share. I'm all about the fun here. But
Jorge's all about the pie.
Well, you got to be, depending on your preferences. But anywho, I'm going to go with JT's play, James Pierce versus the Jets. The Tyrod Taylor is just giving up so many sacks when under pressure. So give me James Pierce Jr. for the Falcons. Steve, who's your sack lunch player this week?
I'm going Brian Burns against the Patriots. Let's play it a little safer this week. The Patriots are still, they're getting better. They're an improved team, but they're still giving it up to the sacks. So I just feel like that's a safer play than what I've been doing. They gave up 37 sacks this year. So yeah, Brian Burns.
All right. JT, who is your play this week? Or excuse me, sack lunch player this week?
So a guy I've been fading pretty much all season, but he's finally getting home in the last couple of weeks after only a half a sack in the first 7 games. Josh Hines Allen has 3.5 sacks in the last 4 games for the Jags, going against the Titans, giving up the most sacks in the league with 41. He's finally getting on a little bit of a roll, and I'm going to jump on board this week. Josh Hines Allen gets a sack for the Jags against the Titans.
All right, Gary, round us out here. Who are you taking?
I took Hines Allen last week and was going to take Burns this week, but Steve beat me to it. So give me some Tui Pulotu of the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Las Vegas Raiders team. that I believe has now allowed 40 sacks on the season after the Browns sacked Geno Smith all the times ever last week. And honestly, by the end of that game, I think Geno Smith just dropped back and laid down. So I'll tell you, he's going to pull a Brett Favre, and all Tui Pelosi is going to have to do is walk over and touch him, and I'm going to get my point. So that's fine.
Love it.
Just quit, Geno. It's over.
Folks, thank you very much for tuning in to Shoot the Gap. This is a little bittersweet this week because this is the last time this season all four of us will be on screen together. Steve, I know you'll have to do a lot of college prep, and you rightfully so. Thank you so much for everything you've done here on Shoot the Gap and for us here at Fantasy and Frames. And back, hopefully, next year we'll be running it back as a crew on Shoot the Gap and seeing you in the off season and seeing all the amazing work you do. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us here, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And of course, Gary, JT, and I will be back next week. For everybody out there, have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a great time with your loved ones and your friends. Some of us here at Fantasy and Frames, we put out a little happy Thanksgiving video on our various social media channels. Why don't you go check that out? We really are appreciative and thankful for all the support you all give us year in and year out. And, we do this for y'all because we're passionate about this stuff. And we hope that we're, not only helping you be successful, but, entertaining you at the same time. So for Steve, for Gary, for JT, I'm Jorge. We'll see you next week.